of a lot more of just like running tournaments and selling shit and folding t-shirts. so 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 I mean that's why I mean so I got out of there, but I still, you know, I mean I really enjoyed the teaching aspects. That's why I just started the stream, not so much to like grow like a monster stream and whatever, because like I knew I wasn't gonna continue to be a golf instructor forever. It was just kind of more of like a, I liked helping people out with their swings, so this is just a way for me to continue to do that. So
Yeah, but
so I
like
don't really upload
how,
anything on YouTube.
but how good you are on like doing reviews and reviewing people's swings and giving them like tips and stuff, man. Like, yeah, I feel like you should, and I would be willing to like. I can't watch all your streams, of course, but
It's
I would
fine.
be willing to help you make videos if you needed that.
It's all right. I like I said, I just do it more for just the fun of teaching people anyway.
All right. Well, I'm still gonna, if you're cool with it, at least in the video description, if I put this on YouTube, which
Oh yeah,
I plan to,
yeah,
I'll link everyone to your Twitch
yeah, for sure.
and Discord.
Um, what's your YouTube channel name?
It's golfing for par. Four is the number, no spaces. And what Scats and I typically do is I have my Streamlabs set up where if you were to turn on your camera, I could actually have both of our videos showing, so you would see like both of us. But that's completely up to you.
Oh no, that works for me.
Okay.
I wasn't sure how you had everything set up.
Yeah.
This looks like a cool setup. I like how you got on your you got like the whole sim loaded up on the screen.
Yeah.
I'm gonna post something in our Discord too to see if anyone wants to tune in.
Cool. Or put where it's not going to be blocking like data when that shows.
Right.
I think we're good. I hit one to see where the data shows up.
Sure.
You'll know what that means. I have no idea what any of it. I just look at like the
Yeah.
club face and the pack. That's it.
Good. That's if I had to give advice to anybody, I would say like if you had access to something that could give you thousands and thousands of club data, then you should basically try to ignore all of it except for club face and path. That those are definitely the most important things.
All right. So nice. The only thing I'm covering up is really not covering. I'm just covering up the titles, but that's a bit cool. All right. So what do you want me to do? You're the boss.
Let's see. It's a little bit delayed, so like on my like so like right now I just watch you hit an iron, so I don't know how like delayed that is.
That was extremely delayed.
Okay. Let me try to refresh and maybe that will make it a little bit.
Hmm.
Otherwise, yeah, from the stuff that's like showing up on the screen, it looks like we've got everything's in a good spot for being able to look at numbers and everything.
So right now on the driver, I have the shaft. I guess the normal setting it's set to standard, and then I have the 14 gram weight on the face side, front edge.
Okay. Have you moved anything around yet, or do you kind of like where those are at?
When he first gave it to me, the shaft was on like some like crazy. I think he had like set it back to 10 degrees or something like that. I just moved
Yeah.
it back to standard.
Okay. And then with your driver in general though, would you say like with with your previous driver, were you always hitting the ball too high or too low, or did you feel like you got too much spin or too little spin? Like what was kind of your goal with a new driver?
Yep. Okay. So my old driver was the Cobra BioCell, and I felt like I always hit it extremely high, and my backspin rates were always in like nearing 4,000, which I always felt was really high.
That's too high. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely too high.
And I always assumed that was my swing, so I did start to change my swing to try to fix that. I don't know if I ever did, but I haven't had this new driver long enough to really see what my backspin rate is, if that's changed at all.
Well, actually, let's do this then. Let's start by hitting a few of your old driver,
Oh,
and then
okay.
and then and you don't have to hit like a ton of them, but just try to hit them until it's like until you hit one that not necessarily like, oh, this is really good for my driver, like just one that's like, yeah, that is like the best summary of my driver.
All right. My old driver, a good summary was probably a carry of 200, roll out to like 230. That carried 215, rolled out to like 224. And I'll pause it on the data while I set up for the, I guess. So yeah, backspin 4,900. Oh, that's
Let's see
massive.
on my end. I just saw you hit it. So it's a little bit delayed, but this that actually might work out better anyway. Um,
Yeah, 4,900 backspin. That's actually, that's basically 5,000.
yeah.
So yeah, that actually, I mean, the backspin's a little high, but the carry and stuff is actually pretty normal.
Okay, and you actually hit that perfect on the face too. Um, you had a good smash factor.
Oh, the joy of a Skytrak. It doesn't read all your. The best shots are the ones it doesn't read.
That's okay.
I don't know. I can't hit too many in front of you because you'll be like assessing everything.
No, that's fine. Um, so is there launch on your on here, or I was trying to look on that from that last one.
The launch angle? I think
Yeah.
so. There should be. I know there is on the Skytrack
Mhm.
software. I don't know if there's on this one. That one carried 220. That must have been really high. 4,100 backspin. Yeah, ball launch angle is the bottom left. So that was
Okay.
23.
23 launch.
Yeah. 227. Carry was 250. Yeah, so that's about normal.
Well, so first off, it's definitely good that you got a new driver.
Nice.
Um, these numbers are definitely too high, and I definitely think that the shaft you chose is already gonna put you in the right direction anyway. Okay, so if you want, go ahead and hit the Cobra in standard, and
Yeah.
right now you'll have like you said, you have the weight closer to the face. that's
But
probably where I would want you to put it anyway. But so let's start it there, and then if we need to move it back, we can.
I have noticed, and maybe this is a mental thing, but this driver has a crazy fade on it that my other driver doesn't have.
That might be a mental thing.
Probably. So that one was 3,600 backspin, 17-degree launch angle. Carry was 230, distance was 250. That one went right. Oh, didn't read it. Dead straight, but it didn't feel like it was.
That's okay. So one of the things that um there are people have gone through the lengths to make like really confusing charts um to help sort of optimize this. They call them optimized charts. So if you ever get bored, you can always look them up. But um essentially at your current ball and club head speed, you should be your goal out of a driver would be kind of looking more like a I guess 240 would be the higher end on a carry, um, and to 67 kind of that 270 range on the total. So really overall, just that's kind of where we know like okay this is where what we're capable of. So we can try to alter some things to try to hit that point. That's kind of where you go. And in some cases, you know, you get even more than that for whatever. Sometimes you get more carry or more total or whatever that case may be. I usually try to mess around with the carry mostly because the carry you can trust, whereas like the total, you could play a wet course or a dry course and it's going to be different either way. So
Gotcha.
overall, with where everything is right now, and again, this is ignoring our ball flight and we can do things afterwards to try to tune that up. But in terms of just what the club is spitting out, you're looking at, probably wanting to see if we can lower that spin even more if we can. As for launch angle, I'd like where it's at now, so that's good that we can kind of move that around if we have to. We can move it up or down if we have to. But overall, I like where that launch angle is. But the spin, I would say we should still try to see if we can get that down a little bit, and I think that might be able to get you a few more yards in that. So by let's start since we do have a little bit more wiggle room. Let's go down on the loft. So if you want to change it to from standard to the -1 setting or whatever the next setting is. I think it goes -1 first and then 1.5. I think they jump the half, but they might not.
Yeah, I don't know what any of this stuff is when I take this thing off. So.
It's okay. And then another thing for anybody out there is that the whenever you're changing the head or anything on a driver, it's okay. Like you twist it until it makes like the pop a couple times. That's one thing that like I feel like freaks so many people out is when they're tightening something back up. They just try to tighten as much as they can and then it pops and then it's like, oh my God, did I just strip something? But that they're designed to pop when it's tight enough. So I usually pop it, you know, 2 or 3 times.
So there are a lot more options than I thought. So
Yep.
de-lofting it, there's -1, -1.5, and then there's an actual -1 draw.
Yep.
Okay, so you just want to go -1?
Yeah, so we can get into the draw stuff later. Let's start with just the loft. Um because the draw that won't really affect our loft too much.
Never. What I was not expecting to have to deloft it. I thought I was gonna have to go back higher, but all right. I'm gonna hit it.
That's okay.
People say that a lot when you're giving fittings. Like, oh, that was a bad hit. That was a bad hit. Ignore that one.
But the thing is, though, I appreciate when people do that because there's nothing worse than like and I've had this happen. I'd sit through a whole fitting, and someone would just be hitting these like crazy draws, and so I would adjust them into something that would help them reduce that draw a little bit, and then like after the fitting's over, they were like, I'm really surprised that like we ended up going into more of like the fade settings because I've never hit a draw on the course. I'm just like, wait, what? Why are we waiting until why are we waiting until the end to tell me this? So it's good to I whenever I would do a fitting, I'm always like, okay, if you hit a shot that's like not a typical shot, whether that's like sometimes in some cases it's like, okay, I hit that too good and that's not a typical shot, like that's also just as important too, because sometimes we can do things that are too good.
That's funny because when I was getting fit for these Cobra clubs, I hit a 7-iron 200 yards. I was like, all right, I'm buying them. I didn't even ask
Yeah.
questions. I'm like, yeah. I've never been able to do it again, ever.
You'd be surprised with the newer lofts out there. I mean, even like your pitching wedge now would be like a 7-iron from like a set just like 5 or 6 years ago.
So let's see. Delofted a degree. Launch angle is now 18. Still have a slight fade on it. Backspin went up to 4,100. That's probably just my swing though. Was it carry 226, roll out to 240? I'll hit another one.
Yeah, try to hit another one. Your smash was pretty good there, so you hit it decent. It's just that by delofting, we should see the launch angle and the spin both go down. In that case, they both went up by a little bit. So
Oh gosh, that fade, beautiful. Yeah, I know one thing. I think that this is kind of separate from what we're doing here, but ever since you talk, oh, I didn't pause. That's still really good. Ever since I learned about slap hinge with my irons, my iron play has like gotten so much better. But I feel like the better my irons get, the worse my driver gets.
yeah, and I think actually Fry in the Discord mentioned that too, because he worked on the same thing this winter, and he got his slap hinge really really good. Um, but the the problem is, if you if you dig your leading edge, by doing that, you're going to get more leading edge contact with the ground. So if you do that more with a driver or a 3-wood, you're not going to have a whole lot of fun.
Gotcha.
So that's where spine tilt is your friend. Um, So in that case, you try to get more spine tilt at impact, and then you can still get your slap hinge, but then you won't just be ripping your leading edge into the ground. You'll actually be kind of sliding the bottom of your part of your driver or your 3-wood across the ground, which is ideal.
Okay.
Which is good to know because then, if you start to do that more, then you might find now I'm hitting these way too high. So then it's good to know that you can tune something back down if you need to.
That one felt like a really good hit.
Okay.
Let's see what it did. Carry 224, rolled out was only to 240. Backspin still 4,000.
Okay.
Launch angle was 16. I feel like that's lower.
Yep, that one's lower. So you got your spin stayed up there a bit, but then you did get the launch angle a little bit lower. Let's see. Is that one right above your launch angle? Since your picture's covering the like the descriptions, but is the one right above your launch angle the attack angle? I'm assuming.
Face relative to path is what it says.
Oh, so they're just doing the math for you. I gotcha.
Yeah, it's yeah, smash factor, swing path, club face, deviation, face relative to path, and then launch.
Okay. Let's see here. All right. Well, let's go 16. We're starting to get into a little bit of a dangerous range, but let's crank it down one more. And now, normally I don't like to kind of mess with anybody's swing too much when they're testing out their driver, because ideally you want your driver, or whatever club you're being fit for, to just fit your swing. But I do want you to try and mess around with what I mentioned of getting a tiny bit more spine tilt at impact, because I think that it's gonna bring your launch angle back up from what we're lowering, but it's gonna bring your spin way down.
So tilt my spine backwards towards the camera. Lean back.
Yeah,
Right
lean
shoulder
back.
lower.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we can do that. We can do that before the swing if it helps. One of my favorite moves to kind of illustrate it is if you take your right arm off your club and just let it rest on your side, and then tilt your spine until like your fingertips are touching your knee,
Oh
or
gosh.
about that range,
Dude,
and
that's
then
so far.
yeah, so tilt until your fingertips are touching your knee, and then regrip the club from there. That's kind of where you essentially want to be at impact. So you don't have to go ahead and take a swing, locked into that position, but that's just kind of a good way of telling your body like, oh, okay, this is my goal. But yeah, that's what you want to look like at impact.
I feel
And
like
then
I'm about to
it's like
slam the ground.
it's okay. Keep in mind, you're not, as part of the swing, you're going to shift your weight to your front leg, which is also going to shift your hips forward. So you also have to keep in mind that just in taking a golf swing, it's going to do some of that for you. So so that so don't feel like you have to just like really like fall backwards. Like you still want to take your swing as normal, but just try to see if you can get more of that position at impact.
Okay. You saying what you just said about finishing with my front weight on my front leg completely blew my mind because I don't think I do that. But
Oh no.
oh, so I did deloft it. It's at negative 1.5 now.
Okay, good.
So that launch angle 19. Backspin still 4,000. Carry 220, roll out.
And how would you rate that swing? Like how did that swing kind of feel overall? Like does that feel like something you could do that you could work on of like getting more of that tilt, but also more if you don't feel like your weight's ending on your left leg, then also that you feel like you could get more of that too, or did that
Yeah.
just feel like too weird?
No, no, I think it's something I could work on for sure.
Okay. see. Try another one like that. You can keep the club at the same setting and try another one like that, and then we'll kind of see if it gets a little bit more comfortable.
I hit the ground so hard with the driver right there.
Don't break your driver.
It's a soft mat. I think I'm okay. Wow, that backspin was only 2,200.
Another thing, like without having to feel like you're having to change your whole body to make these swing changes, if you want to feel more like you're making a change, man, I just watched the one where you hit the ground, and that thing went. That was your furthest drive.
Yeah.
That's pretty good with that hitting the ground.
Oh, I didn't pause it fast enough. All right.
That's,
No, I hit another one that
there
was
should be
pretty
more.
clean.
There should be more good ones where that comes from. Oh yeah.
I'm definitely leaning back. I need to fix that. But I don't. The weight's on the back foot, but that tilt is definitely there. Wow. Yeah, I'll have to fix the delay issue.
That's okay.
The one I just did, backspin was 2,600. I don't know what smash factor really means. Like, is a 1.4 good? I don't.
Yeah, you can't get better than a 1.5. That's basically all you need to know about smash
Okay.
factor. So essentially, if it's funny, actually, other sports are finally starting to. It was at golf. I mean, I think anyway that golf was the only ones using it. I've seen a couple things kind of pop up my feed recently where like they're trying to use that in baseball now. Uh, but that's like it's a weird calculation, but like the short summary version is that it should be as close to 1.5 as possible. If it's anything less than 1.5, then that tells me that you didn't hit it in the center of the face, and like you didn't get all that one. So when I'm giving someone a lesson and I see low smash factors and they're like, yeah, I'm really hitting it well, then I can see that and be like, actually, you're not you're not hitting it well. You're not really getting all of your club and reaching your potential, and I can kind of focus with that person different
Hmm.
ways of maybe fixing where they're making impact on the face,
Okay.
as opposed to someone who's hitting it and they want more yardage, but they're a perfect 1.5 every single swing, and they're like, no, I want more yardage, I want more yardage. That's someone where it's like, okay, we actually have to change your swing because we're maxing out what the club can do. So that's really kind of the easier summary of smash factor. But yeah, it's a weird equation on how the machines actually get to it.
Okay. What should a backspin be around?
So ideally, if you are really truly trying to like maximize your distance as best you could, the kind of the rule of thumb is like 2,000. Um,
2,000?
yeah.
And I'm sitting at
Now,
like 5,000?
yeah.
Oh
So
my God.
that's why I told you it was good that you bought a new driver. um, So, the goal is kind of more about the 2,000 range. Now that doesn't really necessarily work for everybody. If somebody had a slower swing, like if some of the older guys that like where, they don't really have that quick of a swing, that they actually would benefit more from a higher backspin. So, like for them, we're trying to actually get their spin up to more of that three. I still wouldn't even go to 4,000, but like 3,000 range um, would be something I'd target in someone with a slower swing speed. But if you have a higher swing speed, you've got to get your spin as close to 2,000 as you can. because not only will it help you hit further, but also it'll make sure that if you start to get offline, that you're not going to go bye bye offline.
Wow. Okay. Because that last hit I just did was 2,700.
Yeah, and I would say for you, I would just try to set a goal of, whenever you're practicing to always keep it under 3,000 for now. If you found like, hey, I'm getting this thing down under 2,000, for one, I'd be surprised. But then in that case, we would have to change things on the club itself. But otherwise, I would say goal wise, when you're practicing, if you're consistently with a higher spin just as part of your swing, then that's kind of where you want to be,
Okay.
trying to get under 3. But I would say really it's more of, the club itself. Now we can, you mentioned that you feel like that one's been fading a lot more, and I'm guessing you don't really love that necessarily for ball flight.
No, no.
Okay. So now I want you to keep it on the lower loft settings, because for two reasons. One, the lower loft we go, the lower spin you should be getting. But also, if we lower your loft, then I think it's going to encourage you to try to work harder at getting this spine tilt. So if you feel like you're hitting it lower than normal, then you're going to want to work harder at trying to swing up on the ball. So let's keep in the lower loft setting, but now I want you to try out the draw setting. So these draw settings, in the past, a draw setting actually used to open up the club face, which kind of sounds confusing, but draw settings would open up the club face, because then that would force golfers to kind of like close the face to overcompensate, and then that would help create a draw. Um, Now I don't think any driver is doing that anymore. Now they realize that they could get a pretty significant draw bias by um, changing the lie angle, so bringing the toe of the driver up more. And if you bring the toe of any club up, it's actually going to help you draw it. So essentially, that draw setting now, as opposed to like if you had an old driver and you saw a draw setting, they would be doing two totally different things. But in this case, this one's actually just going to be affecting the lie angle. So that's why, like, when people look at a shaft, they're like, you're telling me if I just spin this around to all these things, that it's going to make all these changes to the club? That doesn't make any sense. Um, and so it is making really subtle changes, but it's definitely not like some high tech, like, you click this button and then all of a sudden it like spits out a new club. It is just making really subtle changes, but they are doing something. So in this case, the draw setting is going to be changing your lie angle.
Okay. There is no minus 1.5 draw, but there is the -1 draw. So that's what I.
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect. That I
Cool.
didn't think that they went below -1 on the draw, because that would be too much.
Give it a whack. Backspin 2,500. Uh, Smash factor 1.4. Launch angle 21.
Okay.
Backspin, yeah, 2,500. Still had a. I didn't really have as much of a draw as I just had an open club face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, when we're changing is the lie angle, it's not gonna fight like a whole lot of open face. So that can that's kind of expected there. Let's see. Two overall though, I like, that was your best carry yardage so far.
Oh, I didn't even look at what that was.
Yeah, you got up to 236 now on the carry, so
Okay.
that's good. Like I said, the carry, if we have a consistently high carry, then that's a true distance. Whereas like if our carry isn't really high, then it's all gonna be golf course dependent.
I didn't pause it fast enough.
That's okay. I like how they got a range picker card out there to aim for.
Some of the best drives I've ever had hits that thing and it just stops it dead in its tracks.
Yeah.
Makes me so mad.
Funny.
That was a, yeah, that was a bad one. I think it was at a 4-degree launch angle. And I guess it's worth noting, I don't know if it's that big of a deal, but I do choke up on this driver a little bit.
That's okay.
Because if I don't, I will hit my ceiling.
That's okay.
Still going way right. That's fine. So, okay, so you're teaching me a lot. So, we dropped the loft on the club for two reasons. One, we were trying to bring the launch angle down, and two, we're trying to influence a lower backspin.
Right. And that's the thing with that driver itself. So if someone came to me and they're like, "Hey, here's my swing. I get a ton of launch angle, a ton of spin," and really it ends up being not so much their launch angle as it's more of that's all like spin loft because they have so much spin on their club. That was good. The one you just hit on my screen was 240 carry. So that's you're reaching realistically you're reaching closer to your max on where your carry should be with the club speed. But um so so yeah, so when I see someone who's just got like tons and tons of spin, I can put them in a low lofted head. I can get any sort of weights moved to the front. I can put them in a crazy low spin, low launch shaft. Um and and then I can take all of that and then set it into the lowest loft setting, and then that's about as low as we could possibly go for spin. And then at that point, if the spin is still too high, um, then then it's a swing thing.
Gotcha.
So essentially, where we're at right now is we basically approached that. So
Okay.
so the so we've got you have the lowest spinning, lowest launching shaft. That's their 9-degree head. So you have the lowest head, and then we've tried it in the smallest lot or smallest loft on that head too. So we are kind of at our max in that area. So that kind of tells me that it may need to be more of like we might have to do a part one and a part two.
Okay.
Um,
Second one being the swing pat, or like the swing itself.
Yeah, so
Okay.
so essentially I think that there's some and one of the things I try to tell people when they're getting fit for a club is I get this all the time where everyone's always like, "Well, I don't want to get fit for clubs until I get my swing fixed because, for obvious reasons." But the thing about club fitting, and this applies more to irons than anything. The thing about club fitting is that like no matter even if unless you change from like lefty to righty or vice versa, then like that's the only way that some swing change would really affect where your club fitting should be. Like it would have to be a very drastic change. So that's one thing I just want to point out in general about club fitting is that if anyone's on the fence of like, oh, should I get fit for clubs and then take lessons, or should I take lessons and then get fit for clubs? I always say get fit for clubs first because those are truly fit to you, and then you can fix your swing. Um, Now, in this case, though, this is like where I'll kind of contradict myself in that I think if I were fitting you to a driver, I would put you into this driver, right? So I would say, okay, this is someone who's got a high launch high spin tendency. So I'm gonna get them into a forgiving driver that's low launch and low spin. In a way, I probably would have fit you into this driver, or at least something really similar. So I mean, you can be happy about that for sure. That you picked
Okay.
the right club. But so in terms of a fitting perspective, that's kind of, sweet, we got it. And but then in terms of a fine tuning perspective, there we can try to fine tune as much as we can, but then at some point we have to we can't go much further. So in this case, I would say you're missing out on some distance and some accuracy, and there's not much we can do with the club right now,
Okay.
as opposed to if you made a couple changes as part of your swing, then there's more we could fine tune from there. So that's why, so I mean, really, I would say maybe for now, I would keep it in the -1 draw setting because I think that you're getting your best overall numbers in that setting. Um, so I would probably keep it in that setting where we have it now. Now if you found that you're practicing and you're like, I'm not, like I'm hitting these too low, or I'm not hitting these well, then that's where go ahead and like just put it back on standard, or change it up a little bit here and there. And I can explain what the different settings actually truly do. Because then that way, maybe when you rewatch, you could always rewatch like that part, be like, oh wait, what do you say about this? I'm happy to do that too. But in general though, I think for your swing personally, what I notice is we consistently have an open club face.
Yep.
um, so unfortunately, the when we try to lower loft, it actually opens up the club face more. So if we're trying to fight loft, we're actually making your fade worse in a way. Um, so that is going to be something that you'll have to battle. But I think ideally you're probably better off trying to fight the where that club face is as part of your swing, as opposed to fighting it with changing stuff on the club. Because as you see, you know, you were at 17 launch, 3600 spin, and then we changed your club to go down a degree, and it went up to 18 launch and 4000 spin. So that just kind of proves that like we can change the club and it should overall fine tune things, but there's so many little tiny things we can do as part of our swing that are going to make way bigger impacts on the actual ball flight itself. But from what I've noticed just from watching a few swings, and or I haven't really been watching the swing as much as I've been focusing more on the numbers and those kind of things. But
Yeah.
we do have we do have a consistently open face. I would guess with where your spin's at, we don't have an attack angle on here. Um, but I would guess just with where your spin's at, that we're probably our attack angle is probably negative for the driver, which is great. And you mentioned that your irons are good, but your driver has been lacking. And that makes sense. When you do an iron swing with a driver, you're gonna have a negative attack angle, and that's gonna poorly affect the driver. So I would say try to focus more on getting the club face a little bit more shut, and our attack angle up.
Okay.
Uh, so what that looks like is I like to feel like
Yeah.
my driver is actually bottoming out and then swinging up into the ball, because I think that kind of actually helps with two things. One, it'll feel like you've reached the apex of your swing, and that you'll start to close the face naturally because you'll feel like you just bottomed out your driver. So I think that swing thought might help you in that sense, but then also that also helps with the getting our attack angle up because we truly feel like our club bottomed out and is on its way back up. So that's definitely something to I would mess around with that swing thought for sure.
Okay.
But in terms of a swing itself, we should be looking more at trying to close that face a little bit and trying to get more of that spine tilt. And then again, what I talked about or mentioned earlier, we want to make sure that every time we swing, we should have all of our weight on our front leg, so your left leg for righties.
Mhm.
So you should be finishing your swing with all your weight there. which is going to be, it's hard to tell someone, hey, I need you to tilt backwards at impact, and also, by the way,
and forward.
I want you to finish with your swing on your front leg. So that's kind of where, watching pro swings just to see like, oh, okay, they're shifting their weight, but they're also tilting their spine angle backwards. Like that's where that kind of clicks. But I feel like if I just told anybody, I mean, in any golfer of any skill, like, hey, lean back and also lean forward, that would that would kind of be pretty weird. So I definitely understand that. In overall, I would say, with the driver, if our weight's a little bit on our back foot after it's all said and done, I'm happier with that because that means that you're swinging up on it more, which is going to get you more distance in the long run. But our end goal should be that we're consistently getting an upwards attack angle, but also finishing a golf swing with our weight on our left leg.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know if you want to try to rip a few. Um, and again, you can leave it in the setting you have it now, um, since then that way if we notice if we notice that the club is changed, if it's like, oh wait, hold on, now I am swinging it better now and now I'm hitting it bad, then we can kind of we can kind of change it quick. But I would say try that swing thought of that the club bottoms out and then goes into impact, because I think that's gonna help you close the face and swing up on it.
Okay. Sound of that club swing is satisfying. Nice. I am surprised these cheap earbuds even picked that up on us. Yeah, I feel like so to get my weight forward, I feel like a lot of that is I'm just gonna have to throw my hips forward.
Yeah, but keep in mind too, so if we're trying to get more spine tilt, then if
Oh,
you throw your hips forward, it's going to tilt your spine backwards. So that helps.
yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with that. That was a good one at 264.
I killed that ball. Jeez. That was almost a 250 carry.
Oh.
Almost. Still open club face, but that one right there was a 2300 backspin, 20 launch angle, 246 carry.
Yeah, that's really good.
I'm determined to purposely hit one in the left field here.
That's okay. So remember what's easier to think of closing or where the face is pointing besides the face? The
Oh, my
club face is
watch.
like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
The club face is
yeah.
so far away from you. So I'd rather think that your watch is pointing left of your target at impact.
Oh, that was left field. That was way left field.
That's okay. We can't we can't find the middle if we can't do the extreme on the other side too.
Yeah. Yeah, it was closed for 5.4 degrees.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good. I mean that you want to be able to do both extremes, because then that shows you have more power. There's nothing worse than I'll tell someone like, "Hey, do like the most extreme uh, closed face or whatever, like big giant slice or a giant hook swing that you can, and then and nothing changes in their swing, then it's like, uh-oh, I don't know if we're gonna be able to fix this slice when that happens. So it's good that if you want to be able to change too far in the wrong direction. Because another thing you're gonna notice too is the more you get this club face shut, the lower your backspin's gonna be. So that one that went way left was 2,100 backspin. That was your lowest spin wise.
I don't know what I did on that one, but
Okay, the one that you just hit that's on my screen now, that it didn't go as far as your other ones did, but in terms of ball flight, that's something that I think that you should try to feel more comfortable with. So yeah, so we had a 5-degree closed face, but you also had a 6-degree left path. So even though our face was shut, our path was still more left than our face was, which is why it started left, but it still faded. So
Yep.
whenever you still get your path more than your face, it'll still do that direction. So that's what we call pull fade, and that's a nice, comfortable, that's a swing. What if I could give anybody, like, if someone was like starting out playing golf and they're like, hey, I don't know if I want to be a draw golfer or a fade golfer, or like, and they're trying to pick, I would say the best thing would be to just master the pull fade, um, because you can just do that all day long. And then if you really need to rip into something, you can alter your swing to do so. But to just be a pro pull fader, that is like a really good way to just have a consistent, long, easy to control
Okay.
uh, ball flight.
I like a fade like that. I don't like an 8 degree out to in. I feel like that's a little aggressive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta dial back on the watch aim and left thing. Well, I mean, I don't. It's definitely sacrificing the carry, but the backspin, like that backspin was 2,300, which is
Yeah.
way better than 5,000.
Right. So
Well,
now that it seems like you're getting more comfortable closing the face, let's try to change the club, and let's get the loft up again. So either back to standard. I think you can probably safely keep it in the draw setting, because I think that extra lie angle is only going to help you to close that face more. So let's maybe either go to draw standard or draw +1, because that's going to help. What it's going to do is going to close the face even more. I guess is to so you won't have to rely on the watch as much. So if you really want, you can try the draw with the +1 loft, and then you'll see you won't really have to work as hard to close the face. Which is funny how it's backwards.
plus one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I essentially what this is supposed to do is it's gonna increase your loft a bit, but I think with the effect that it's gonna do for you personally in your swing, by by helping you close that face, I think is gonna really, um, actually, in a sense, might not even raise your loft.
But I might suspect my backspin to creep back up.
Yeah, technically the backspin should creep up unless you're doing a better job closing the face. But yeah, if a robot was swinging the driver, then if we go up on the loft settings, it's gonna hit it higher and spin more. If we go
Okay.
down on the loft settings, it's gonna spin less and hit lower. But we're gonna see if we'll get a residual, easier to close the face effect. Okay, I like that. Numbers wise, not ideal on that one that you hit on my screen, but I did like the close. We got the face to close by a half degree. That's nice and consistent.
Two swings in a row and didn't read that'll wear you out.
Yeah, especially with the driver too.
This dude just said, "Is this guy from your Discord? He has to be
Yeah, yeah, he is.
ASMR."
He's the one with the legendary whiff swing.
Ah. Please. Oh my gosh. Didn't read that one either. Maybe the ball. Please read that one. Okay. 230 carry. Oh, 4,000 backspin.
Yeah, so it's doing what it's supposed to do. All right, so I think overall then let's leave it in the draw. I think you got your best numbers in the draw -1 setting.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it in there. And then instead of having the club close for you, which is what the higher loft settings would do, we'll have you just try to work more towards closing that face. But like I said, I think the more you work on that feeling of bottoming the club out, so that way it's swinging up and starting to close into impact, is going to really help you just overall with a lot of the things that we're seeing in the swing in general.
Okay. And
But
it sounds like it
yep.
would be beneficial on your Sunday streams that you still do. I guess I should give you like a face on slow motion video would probably
Yeah,
show
for
a lot
sure.
more than a back shot.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
whenever we're looking at attack angle, we want to see a face on. It might be tough. You might have to move some stuff in your so that way you can get the club face, but yeah, you might have to
Oh,
move the
yeah,
temporary
yeah.
move the net out of the way.
Yeah, I've had my
Danger
wife
zone.
stand over there before and just told
Put
her to
her
close
their
her
life
eyes.
their life in danger.
Yeah, close your eyes. It's fine.
The things they do for us. Um
Yeah.
so but yeah, otherwise, I would say. So basically, to summarize though, for your swing personally, we got to work on swinging up on it more. We want to see a slightly closed, or at least anything closer to square. But I think in your swing personally, we're gonna see a lot more benefits with a closed face, because then if your tendency is already to fade it, that it'll give you more of a pull fade. A closed face is gonna get it's going to get your spin down more. It's going to get your loft down more. So it's going to do the things we want it to do anyway.
Okay.
So keep working on those kind of settings. Um, and then and then I want your long-term goal to be more that you're comfortable with whenever you swing, that your weight is always finished on your front leg. So don't work on that one right now, because I think it's just gonna make it harder for you to get more of a tilt at impact. But if you worked on that one, if you kind of set that as more of like the long-term goal, maybe that's something where it's like, okay, whenever you're hitting your irons, you work harder on that one, as opposed to with the driver. Maybe we don't really think too much into that one. That'll be better for your swing personally.
Yeah.
Um, and then to summarize, I guess with what the club itself does, the weight on the bottom, that one we didn't end up moving today because the forward position is the position that you go to if you need low spin and low launch. So that is the ideal position for that case. Now, with that being said, I put almost 90% of my golfers in the weight in the back position, and the reason for that is with the weight in the back position, that was something that and there's been club companies out there that have tried to move the weight back and things like that. Um, but the thing that Cobra did is they were able to get it in a further back and lower position than anybody else could. If you just go to Dick's Sporting Goods, or I mean really any Golf Galaxy, and just look at all these drivers, you'll notice that their sliding weights or their movable weights are a lot higher up compared to if that club was just sitting on the ground. They would be a lot higher off the ground. Whereas that weight in its further back position is literally going to make contact with the ground. So
Yeah.
so that was kind of a special thing to Cobra, And the reason why they did that is because if they put a weight way back there, then it was so much easier for every golfer to get the ball up in the air and a lot straighter. So it's kind of a trade-off in that, if your swing is really high spin and really high launch, then we don't want to move that weight back there because it's going to increase your spin and increase your launch, so it'll hurt you in that way. But it's also going to be a lot harder to hit with the weight in the forward position. Whereas if you have the weight in the back on that driver, it's like it just becomes such an easy club to hit.
Okay.
So so I would say, I mean, also another thing to just mess around with as you work and get more comfortable with that driver is if you feel like you're finally getting your spin and your launch a lot lower, then maybe pop the weight in the back and then see if you like it better because the weight in the back is going to be a lot more consistent. So as long as you're keeping manageable spin and launch with the weight in the back, I would prefer a weight in the back over one in the front. But for now, I think you might have to keep it in the front. Otherwise, it'll just spin too much and it'll float away on you.
Okay.
But that's what that weight does. So that's kind of like the big innovation that Cobra made was just being able to get a weight so much further back and so much lower than anybody else ever could. Um, Now with the angles on the face, again, it seems like it's like some high tech, oh, how are they changing the loft? Really all they're doing is if you're adding loft, it's closing the face, and if you're taking away loft, it's opening the face. Which sounds backwards, and it's backwards on purpose because they've opened the face, then you as the golfer, you're not just going to swing a club at it with an open face. You're going to close that face, and if you close the face, then it would lower that loft. So that's how that's designed to work. So that's why I had you test at the end. I had you test in the additional loft setting because technically that's closing the face of the driver. So I wasn't sure if it was going to either help you close the face or if it was just going to do what it was supposed to do, which is add loft and spin. And what we
It
noticed
did.
was it did what it was supposed to do and add loft and spin. So unfortunately that didn't help you there. But otherwise, yeah. So whenever you're messing around with the driver, which can be helpful to people. So it's like there's sometimes where I'll get a golfer who is like they're struggling with hitting everything. They can't really close the face, but they're also hitting everything really low. Then it's like, oh, I got a deal for you. We're gonna crank your driver up as high as it goes because then it not only is it gonna open the face for them, but it's also gonna fix their loft too. Um, so that's kind of you know, unfortunately, you're gonna be in that other end where it's like, okay, we want to lower the loft, but we also want help with closing the face. And unfortunately, as you lower that loft, you're just opening the face more on that driver. So those are just things to keep in mind. um, and then and then again with the draw settings, in terms of loft, it's still doing the same stuff, but the draw itself is just bumping up the lie angle a little bit. And let's see, I think you can kind of see on my camera, but if you had like if my hand was a club and this pen is like just pointing straight at the target, let's just say, then and if I did an extreme and I lifted my the toe of my club up, you can see that points the pen to the left.
Uh-huh.
Whereas if I put it down, it would
Goes
point the
right.
pen the other way.
Gotcha.
So that's what lie angle does essentially. So in those draw settings, they're tilting the lie angle up because that should help point the face to the left. So although you're not technically closing the face, the club itself is trying to hit the ball more to the left. It's called a draw bias. So that's kind of where that draw setting helps. So other things to consider too, if you feel like that, it's once you get your swing under control and you're like, man, my club face numbers and my club path numbers are exactly where I want them to be, but I'm hitting it weird, then that's probably the draw setting doing that because that's the lie angle. So
Gotcha. Okay.
that's the other component. So again, the drivers look confusing, but really, you can kind of break it up into those three chunks, and what you would use to fine tune something. You make bigger changes with the club and the shaft, especially the shaft. But once a golfer kind of chose a club and a shaft, then that's where we do our little magic fine tuning. But I'm happy with where you're at now, especially, I mean, you were ripping a few of them, getting the carry up over 240, and you're getting your total distance, over 260. That's overall with your club speed and ball speed, that's about where you'd want to be. Anything other extra than that is just bonus at that point.
Okay.
But that's really where you need to be already. So at this point now, it's just going to be, can we fine tune the swing to give us those same distance boost, but also with a way more consistent ball flight. And that's what those swing changes I mentioned before are going to do for you.
I will be working on those for sure.
But yeah, so for sure, definitely see if you can film a face-on view, and then we can really get a better idea on where your club's bottoming out and where your spine tilt is, and then I can show you what I meant, where like it's easy to it's weird to think about how it's like, wait, how did I shift the weight forward and tilt back and bottom out my club and do all those things? But when you can see that what you're doing compared to what a pro is doing, then it makes a lot more sense. So I would definitely recommend that for sure.
Okay. I will do that for sure. Yeah, I'll get my wife out here.
Risk your life.
Yep. Yeah, and she's pregnant. She has a big pillow, so she's
Oh
fine.
no.
She's fine. It's a big pillow.
That's funny. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I love the setup for sure. This is really cool. I like how you got the the simulator itself as a screen, but you could still get the cameras in there. That's really cool setup.
Yeah, I don't know how often Scats and I are gonna stream, but what we do is the same thing: two cameras, but we play a course, and it's they don't have scramble, unfortunately. It's still
Hmm.
stroke play, but it's just you take turns.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and
I
we
think um I think About Golf has scramble on theirs. So hopefully more simulators start to add more like actual games that people play in the real world.
yeah, yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, I no, I learned a ton. I had no idea this stuff did that, but it's a lot of work to do.
That's all right. At least it's fun work.
That's true. That's true. And it's only in my garage, so it's not like it's
Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's
it's
not
not
like you're
that
going to
bad.
the range for hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, do you have any other questions about anything with the club or with the swing?
No, no, I'm good, man. Thank you. Thank you a ton.
Sweet.
I owe you for sure.
Oh no, it's all right. This is fun. I mean, like I said, I started streaming because I was leaving the golf industry and going into vet medicine, but I got in the golf industry to teach. So I started my stream because I just wanted to continue to teach people and help them. But I will say one of my favorite things to do was club fitting, and I haven't gotten to do any club fitting since I can still teach on Twitch, but I can't really do club fitting on Twitch. So this is fun for me to be able to kind of go back to my club fitting.
You make me want to. Well, never mind. It's impossible. I was good. No, it's not even feasible. I was about to be like, I need to just go buy that whole adjustment set then and just tell people in the
Yeah,
neighborhood, $200. I have a guy.
yeah,
I have a guy.
yeah.
It's all
Get the
online.
Mizuno, get the Mizuno fit car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd make them hit foam balls. So I don't. I have a couple of dents in my ceiling.
Oh no.
I can't trust everybody.
Yeah.
No, but no, I'm good for sure. That was everything I needed, and I will edit the video, and I will definitely throw your name everywhere. And next time you
No,
stream, I'll make sure to throw some contributions your way because you helped out a ton.
it's all right. Like I said, this is fun for me.
I
Um,
It was fun.
and yeah, but yeah, thanks for reaching out. This is a cool idea, and I like the stream setup.
Cool. No, yeah, thanks for sure. If you're, I mean, if you're cool, I'll let you know whenever. Scats and I play. Maybe he'll have some questions for you and
Yeah,
make a series out of it
absolutely.
or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. All right, man. Thanks.
All right, have a good one.
Alrighty. Boy, oh boy, chat. We have some work to do. I'm gonna work on it a little bit right now, actually. I mean, why not? All right. I don't know why I took my glove off. I'm gonna do a couple more swings trying to. Oh, let me stop recording. I'm gonna do a couple swings here, trying to iron out those things that we just talked about. See what we can do here. All right. I was thinking about everything he said so much that I feel like I need to go back and rewatch it. So I need to be swinging up on the ball, which is fine. I think I naturally do keep a slap hinge, so I need to lag my hands behind a little bit. I need to have the spine tilt, but I need to keep my weight forward. That is a ton of stuff to think about, but I think felt good. Oh, and I got to think about the open club face. That's a lot. That is a lot to factor in. So 3,500 backspin is a ton. This is at -1 draw setting, so that's just my swing. Open club face. He said that when I close that club face, that it's going to get rid of that nasty backspin. We do this again and work on really closing that club face and remember all the other dirty things. Not the guy. Closed it. That that draw on the real course is going to be brutal. That is going to be so bad. 2,500 brought it down. So open club face. Weight wasn't forward there at the end. Oh, but look at that. She's pretty. Lost a lot of carry there. But 214 carry. 4,000 backspin. What the shit? Oh my gosh. I don't know how to. He gave me everything I need to know to get rid of that backspin. I just can't do it, man. That felt like a bomb. Carry was nothing. I wasn't swinging up on it, that's for sure. That launch angle was probably like 10. Oh my gosh, I'm so smart. Backspin rate still 3,500 though. Golly! I'm just gonna do a light swing and just really. That's it for me. I'm exhausted. Whoever's still here, I hope you took something away from that lesson. Hopefully we do some more of these. I thought I learned a ton. That dude is a wealth of knowledge for sure. But it was a good time.